Asterisk. It was raining when a billionaire stepped out of her car and saw a teenage boy holding newborn twins. The world called him a liar. She believed them and walked away. What happened next changed everything. The rain had been falling since dawn, hard, merciless, the kind that soaked through skin and pride alike. Ethan Cole stood barefoot at the edge of the street, his shirt clinging to his thin frame, water dripping from his hair into his eyes. In his arms, two tiny bundles stirred, newborn twins wrapped in a torn blanket that smelled faintly of soap and desperation. "Please," he whispered to no one in particular. "Just a little help." Cars sped past, tires slicing through puddles, spraying cold water onto his legs. Some drivers glanced at him, frowned, then looked away. Others pretended not to see him at all. A woman under an umbrella muttered, "It's a scam," as she passed. Ethan lowered his head. He'd heard it all before. The babies began to cry, soft at first, then louder, as if the rain itself had woken their hunger. "I know," he murmured, rocking them gently. "I know." Across the street, a black luxury SUV rolled to a slow stop. The driver hesitated. Inside the car sat Victoria Hale, billionaire philanthropist, CEO, and woman of iron discipline. Her tailor coat was flawless. Her phone buzzed with reminders, meetings, acquisitions, numbers that shaped the world. "Ma'am," her driver said carefully, "should we go?" Victoria stared through the rain-streaked window. She saw the boy, the babies, the rain. Something tightened in her chest, an old, unwelcome feeling she thought she'd buried decades ago. "No," she said suddenly. "Stop the car." The driver blinked. "Ma'am." "I said stop." She stepped out into the rain. Cold water soaked her expensive shoes instantly. Cameras from nearby shops turned. People whispered. Victoria walked toward Ethan, her heels splashing through puddles. Ethan looked up, startled. He instinctively pulled the babies closer. "I'm not asking for trouble," he said quickly. "I'll move if you want." Victoria studied him, his trembling arms, the way he shielded the twins from the rain before himself. "How old are they?" she asked. 6 weeks, Ethan replied. "They were born too early." "Where's their mother?" Ethan swallowed. "She died." The rain fell harder. Victoria felt her breath hitch. She had once stood in the rain too, long ago, holding nothing but shame and fear. She reached into her pocket, then stopped. Money wasn't what this moment demanded. "What's your name?" she asked. "Ethan." Victoria nodded slowly. "Then listen carefully, Ethan," she said, "because the world is about to test whether it still has a conscience." And with that, she made a decision that would change all their lives. Ethan had never sat inside a car like this before. The leather seats were warm. The windows muted the storm. The baby slept peacefully for the first time that day. He sat stiffly, afraid to touch anything. "Relax," Victoria said. "They're safe." He glanced at her. "Why are you doing this?" Victoria didn't answer immediately. The city lights blurred past as rain streaked the glass. "Because once," she said finally, "someone walked past me when I needed help, and I promised myself I'd never become that person." They arrived at a private medical clinic. Doctors rushed in, checking the twins. Ethan hovered anxiously. "They're underweight," a nurse said gently, "but stable." Ethan sagged in relief. Victoria watched him closely. "You're young," she said. "Too young to be carrying this alone." "I didn't choose easy," Ethan replied quietly. "I chose them." That answer lingered. Later, at her estate, Ethan stared at the long dining table like it was a museum exhibit. "You can eat," Victoria said. "The food won't disappear." He smiled weakly and took a bite. Tears filled his eyes. "I forgot what warm tasted like," he whispered. Victoria looked away. But even kindness has shadows. That night, Victoria's assistant warned her, social media is already talking. They think it's a publicity stunt. Victoria stiffened. "For the record," she said coldly, "I don't need a stunt." Yet doubt crept in. Was Ethan telling the truth? And if he was, how much was she willing to risk? By morning, kindness had become a headline. Victoria Hale stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of her office, watching the city wake beneath a dull gray sky. Her phone buzzed nonstop on the glass table behind her. She didn't need to read the notifications to know what they said. Billionaire falls for street scam. Who is the boy with the babies? Sympathy or setup? Inside the estate, Ethan felt a shift before anyone spoke. Staff would smile the night before now avoided his eyes. Conversation stopped when he entered a room. The warmth was gone, replaced by something colder, suspicion. A television played softly in the lounge. "They're saying the twins don't belong to him," a commentator said. Several witnesses claimed the boy has begged before using different stories. Ethan froze. A woman appeared on the screen, face partially blurred. "Those babies aren't his. I've seen him downtown. He lies." Ethan's hands trembled as he turned off the TV. By noon, Victoria's board demanded an emergency call. "This is damaging," one executive said sharply. "If this turns out to be a con, it reflects on you and on all of us." Victoria listened in silence, jaw tight. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. "Verify everything." Immediately, that afternoon, she asked Ethan to meet her in the study. He entered cautiously, the twins asleep against his chest. "Sit," Victoria said. Her tone was calm, but distant. "I need to ask you something," she continued. "And I need the truth this time." Ethan swallowed. "I've been telling you the truth." "Is there anything," she pressed, "anything at all you haven't told me?" Silence stretched between them. The clock ticked loudly. Ethan looked down at the babies. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "I lied about their mother." Victoria's eyes hardened. "How?" "I said she died," he said. "She didn't." The words hit like glass shattering. "She left." Ethan continued quickly. "At the hospital. She signed the papers and walked away. I thought if people knew, they'd judge them. Or me. I thought death sounded kinder than abandonment." Victoria stood. "You let the world believe a lie," she said coldly. "I was trying to protect them," Ethan replied, tears burning his eyes. "No one helps abandoned children. People help tragedies." Victoria turned away, pain flickering across her face. "You should have trusted me," she said. "I trusted love," Ethan said. "I just didn't trust the world." That was the moment Victoria made her decision. "You can't stay here," she said quietly. "Until everything is verified, this ends." Ethan nodded slowly. "I understand," he said. He left that evening with nothing but the twins and the truth, stepping back into a world that had already decided who he was. Victoria watched from the window as the door closed, and for the first time in years, she wondered if doing the responsible thing had cost her something far more valuable than her reputation. Regret does not arrive loudly. It seeps in, quiet, persistent, impossible to ignore. Victoria Hale felt the moment the house fell silent after Ethan left. The rooms felt larger, emptier, as if something human had been removed. She tried to focus on work, on numbers and meetings, but her thoughts kept returning to the way Ethan had held the twins. Protective, instinctive, real. 3 days later, the news shattered her composure. A fire had broken out at an abandoned shelter on the east side of the city. The footage showed smoke clawing at the sky, firefighters rushing through debris, and then the camera cut to a stretcher. Victoria's breath caught. It was Ethan. His clothes were burned, his face smeared with soot, but his arms were wrapped tightly around the twins, shielding them even as paramedics pulled him away. "He refused to let go," the reporter said. "Witnesses say he covered the infants with his own body." Victoria stood frozen. Hours later, a social worker arrived at her office with a thin folder. "These are the documents you requested," she said gently. Inside were hospital records, birth certificates, and signed abandonment forms. The twins had been legally left behind. Ethan had taken responsibility when no one else would. Every accusation collapsed in an instant. Victoria didn't call her driver. She took her own car. The rain had returned by the time she found Ethan outside the hospital, sitting alone under a broken awning, the twins asleep beside him. She stepped out into the rain. "I was wrong," she said simply. Ethan looked up, exhaustion etched into his face. "I didn't need saving," he replied quietly. I needed someone to believe me. Victoria nodded, rain mixing with tears she hadn't allowed herself in years. I believe you now, she said. And for the first time since the storm began, something between them finally felt still. The rain did not end all at once. It faded, slowly, quietly, like a wound learning how to heal. Spring arrived with soft light and open skies. In the garden behind Victoria Hale's estate, laughter replaced silence. The twins crawled across the grass, chubby hands reaching for butterflies, their giggles ringing with a joy that once felt impossible. Ethan watched them from a nearby bench, taller now, steadier. The fear that had once lived in his shoulders had loosened its grip. He was no longer surviving. He was building something, classes during the day, work in the evenings. A future shaped by purpose, not desperation. Victoria observed from the porch, a cup of tea cooling in her hands. Wealth had always given her control, but never clarity. Ethan had given her that. You didn't have to do all this, Ethan said when she joined him. You already helped us. Victoria shook her head. Help isn't a moment, she replied. It's a responsibility. Weeks later, the announcement came quietly. No press conference. No cameras. A foundation was formed, one dedicated to abandoned children and young caregivers. Victoria insisted it carry Ethan's name, not hers. He protested at first. I didn't do this to be remembered. That's exactly why it should be yours, she said. The foundation grew, not from charity alone, but from trust. Social workers, volunteers, and families found support where judgment once stood. On the first anniversary of the day they met, rain fell again, gentle this time. Ethan held the twins close and smiled. Some storms, he had learned, do not come to destroy. They come to reveal who we are when the world is watching, and when it isn't. And when the rain finally stopped, what remained was something stronger than wealth. Belief. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.